So we did mantra 2 in the last class. So this class we will go to mantra 3. So I'm sure all of you are eagerly waiting for Srimad Bhagavata. You are waiting for exam.
No. Okay, no.
So we will try and go fast through the Isopanisad. Last time it could not happen. I wanted to do 2 verses, but we ended up doing only 1 verse because of too many questions in the class, which is not a problem. As long as we have a nice meaningful discussion, it's okay. So I don't have a set pace, but I want to do 2 per class if possible, so that we can finish in the next 6 classes or so. 6-7 classes. Okay, so we'll go to mantra 3. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrata tamste prethyabhi gachanti eke chatma hano janaha. Okay, children have to be kept silent. All points in time. Like I'll tell you, when you sit in the aircraft, at all points in time, it is advised to keep your seat belt fastened. Like that.
Children from outside.
All points, children should be kept quiet inside the class. Outside we don't have any, but inside at least. At all points the rule is there. Otherwise I can't concentrate. Asurya nama te loka andhena tamasa vrita tamste pretyabhi gachanti eke chatma hanu. The killer of the soul. Okay, that itself is a bit of a, what kind of statement is that in your
Contradictory.
figures of speech? Figurative. Okay. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. Okay. So who wants to read?
The human life is distinguished from animal life on account of its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and work in that spirit are called suras, the godly. And those who are either neglectful of the responsibilities or who have no information about them are called the asuras or demons. There are only these 2 kinds of human beings all over the universe. In the Rig Veda it is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are as illuminated as the path of the sun.
Okay. So what are the points here in this paragraph?
So only two kinds of people, suras and asuras. The suras, their destination is the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. The others, they have no information. So.
The aim of Prabhupada is to explain us who is that killer of the soul, which is mentioned in the translation. So to reach to that point in his own way, he starts giving us a broader understanding of basically how the men are categorized in this world.
So what happens to Brahmavadis, other religionists, which category will they fall then? They are also on the path of self-realization, but according to question.
Okay, come. Anything else?
The first statement also, human life is distinguished from animal life, says, and that in itself carries a heavy responsibility. And then the further explanation is given why, the difference between suras and asuras, and what it really means to be a human being, and what it means to be a sura.
Okay. Let's do one thing. Let's also read the second paragraph. We will then have a discussion.
Intelligent human beings must always remember that this particular form of body is obtained after an evolution of many millions of years of transmigration of the soul. This material world is sometimes compared with an ocean, and this human body is compared with a solid boat designed to cross over the ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas or saintly teachers are compared with the expert boatmen, and the facilities of a human body are compared with favorable breezes, which can help the boat smoothly ply to the desired destination. If with all these facilities a person does not fully utilize his human life for self-realization, such an asura must be considered Atmahana, a killer of the soul. The killer of the soul.
Atmahana. हाँ? नहीं आना अलग है. आना आजकल ऑफिस में हम लोग डिस्कस कर रहे हैं काफी. आना is a new SAP platform.
SAP Hana. Not Atmaha.
Yeah. So Hana bola to mera almost I felt like office ho gaya. Atmaha.
Atmaha. The killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. And here is a warning by Sri Isopanisad in clear terms.
Okay. Thank you. तो आपका कुछ टेक्स्ट अलग लग रहा है.
Yeah, lots of.
So you are reading from? वेदाबेस से पढ़ रहे हो आप?
नहीं,
फिर?
डायरेक्ट
अच्छा, okay.
Different version.
But same thing. I mean the spirit is the same, so it's fine. पढ़.
पुराना वर्जन.
कौन सा? Usually दूसरा का वर्जन है वो हमेशा पुराना होता है. फिर to be fair, I don't. But anyway.
मेरे इसमें तो ऐसे ही है.
अच्छा. All right.
Online
So
version.
what are the points here? पुराना या नया? What are the points? அப்பா புள்ள கலக்குறேன் ஒரு டீ-ஷர்ட் அவரோட காகல்ஸ் எங்க போயிட்டாரு புது கான்ட்ராக்டா
Rajni card.
Yeah.
Rajni card.
It's called Ekdam Jhakas. Anyway, okay. Bolo. You have to do something unusual. Okay, come back. Okay, let's get serious now. Okay. So coming back to the class, what are the main points here? What is Prabhupada trying to tell us in this purport?
Utilize the human form of life to cross the ocean of
Okay.
innocence.
If you have to put one word to both these paragraphs, what would be that one word?
Purpose.
Realization.
Purpose,
Goal.
goal,
responsibility.
correct.
Responsibility.
This verse is all about responsibility. If you have to take, if you read it very carefully, you will come to that one word. It's responsibility, responsibility, responsibility. So Prabhupada is saying that there are only two types of people in this world. Today, sometimes we fight over so many things. We fight whether you are Hindu, whether you are Muslim, whether you are you follow Christianity or Jewish religion. We fight because of different religions. Even within Hindus, we will fight whether you are from South Indian Hindu or North Indian Hindu. Right? Even within South Indian Hindu, we will fight whether you are Shaivite or whether you are Vaishnavite. Within Vaishnavite, we will fight. Are you? No, that is the lower level of it.
Oh.
There is, in the business whereas you have to drill down further to get to that. Okay, so you fight whether you are Sri Sampradayam or whether you are some other Sampradayam. Within Sri Sampradayam, then we will fight whether we are Tengale or Vadagale. Within Saivites, we will fight whether they are Ashtashasramam or what is that? Vadama. But all this is nonsense. There are only two types of people in this world. What are those?
Suras and Asuras.
Suras and Asuras. People who are willing to abide by the constitution of God and people who are not willing to abide by the constitution of the Lord. So there are only two types of people. I was talking to a very eminent Acharya a few days back, not from our Sampradaya, but he was telling me we fight so much between differences, between our Sampradayas, but actually together our war is with the outside world, against people who are infidels in the real sense of it, who don't have anything to do with the Asuras. Means what? Asuras are called as infidels or kafirs, if you say. That is what is talked about here. Who have nothing to do, who do not have anything, who do not believe in God, or who might be believing, but he said, okay, you are there, you be there, happy, leave me alone to do whatever I want. They disregard his constitutional laws. Okay, so they act on their own whims. Okay, so there are only these two types of people. In other words, devotees and Non-devotees, in other words. Okay. This is the only truth. It doesn't matter American, Australian, which nationality, which part of India, all that is simply overheads which we have imposed on ourselves. But this is the only reality. Just now I was speaking with one of the congregational members. I told you I had some unexpected visitors. So this Mataji and Prabhuji had come, and Mataji was telling me that many times I wish in this congregation I were Indian. And I said that we are doing something terribly wrong if you have to feel like that. Isn't it? If she is feeling like that, that means we are doing something terribly wrong. That means we are almost giving her an impression that we are grouping as Indians or whatever. Okay. So our grouping should not be based on Indians. So suddenly when she gave that, she said spontaneously. So I felt very bad. I said, no. We have to do something about it. And obviously, we have to do something about it. So our friendship should not be based upon whether we are Indians or Australians or whatever. Neither should we group around together only as God family all the time. My God brothers and me, I have nothing to do with the outside world. All these are, even within Vaishnava Sampradaya, within ISKCON also we will have all these. So there are only two types, which is, we have to be able to see the bigger picture. There are Asuras and there are Suras. So, Prabhupada is saying, people who are Asuras, eventually they will have to glide down into the animal species. They will lose the human form of life. If we do not live our lives in deference to the constitution of the scriptures, then we will lose our human form of life. Okay? And we will glide down into the animal species. So further it is written that animals these constitutional laws do not apply to animals. Why they don't apply to animals? Pardon?
They have no responsibility.
They don't have
any responsibility. Number two,
Higher intelligence.
they do not have higher intelligence. But I'll tell you another reason. Because they are the only ones who will not disobey the law. So you don't need to bind them to any constitution. It's only humans for whom constitutional laws need to be written. Because a tiger will never eat grass even if it's hungry. But a human being who is supposed to eat vegetarian will go to McDonald's and not hesitate to eat anything. Alright? So it's only human beings who are prone to violating the laws of nature. It's only a human being who will ruin nature. Animals will not ruin nature. They will live according to their natural habitat. So they don't have to be told to do anything. However, it is also mentioned in this paragraph that animals have a much tougher survival than human beings, in one sense. We may say that as a human being, Prabhu, even surviving for me is also difficult. Okay, but if you see, actually, yesterday only I was discussing with another devotee at lunchtime that it's we who have complicated our lives. Suddenly we both are thinking, what are we doing? Why are we working so hard? Why all this stress in office? Both of us agreed that if we go to India, we can retire and live peacefully. But we can't. We can't. Because we are used to tram coming on time. We are used to sitting in the tram. Not traveling, hanging outside the train. Especially I come from Bombay. So, in Tamil we say, Sugam Kandu Poche. Which means, kya ho gaya isko? How do you translate? Used to comforts of life. Like that. So therefore we can't go. And the other thing this devotee was telling me, even if we go, a relative will say, वापस आ गया क्या? कुछ problem हो गया? They will ask. And then we don't want to tell them that, I have retired. Because if you say, I just want to live a simple life, they will think that ये कुछ किया नहीं लगता है life में बेचारा. वापस आ गया हॉस्टल में जाके. हमारा बेटा vice president हो गया है अभी. Cognizant में बहुत बड़ा आदमी है. They will start all that, and that will put pressure on us. They will not allow us to live simply. So that pressure is there. So we can't go back. Of course, it's not true for everyone, but this was agarga ki baat hai. It's different for different people. So, but Prabhupada writes that the only responsibility we have, that only in the human form of life we have the highest responsibility of delivering ourselves back to Godhead. Yeah, it's true that we must deliver the whole world, but it's most important to deliver ourselves. right? Today only, one devotee was talking to me, and there was the person was telling me that, Prabhuji, हम लोग कुछ करते क्यों नहीं है? Corporate life में people are so stressed. We should do something to de-stress. I said, Prabhuji, आप पहले शांत हो जाओ. आप ही इतना स्ट्रेस में लग रहे हो. Corporate में आके de-stress करने गया तो क्या हो जाएगा? They will say, Prabhu, would you like some water for yourself? They will ask, no? So कृपया अपने मुख पे लगाएं. The aircraft always tells, first put the oxygen mask on your face and then बच्चे के मुख पे लगाएं. So first we have to become stress-free. If we want to go out and spread the message of stress-free life. Half the time, in Gujarati में क्या हांजा गगड़ी गया. Half that नहीं मालूम, आपको भी नहीं मालूम. Yamuna Leela taught me recently. Okay, अपना ही बैंड बजा हुआ रहता है life में. Half the time, we are under stress. So we can't go and give a product to someone which we do not have. We can only give that much which we have. So we can't give Krishna Bhakti if I don't have it inside my heart. Or I can give it only to the extent that I have. I can't make people eager to come to Krishna unless I am eager to attain Krishna. Right? So therefore, as a devotee, we have, as a human being, we have a responsibility to deliver ourselves. We have to get the Shastric knowledge, we have to practice it, derive realizations out of it, practice it seriously, and then derive realizations, and then we can share it with others. And there will be some, कुछ दम रहेगा अपने बात में. There will be some strength in what we speak. Simply seeing our lives, they will say, okay, you are very happy, I want to be like you. Even as devotees, half the time if we have problems, and then we are always, unhappy, then somebody will say, मैं भी unhappy, आपको भी ऐसे ही लग रहा है. You are also very unhappy, looks like. So then why I should accept the process which you are recommending, right? So our happiness is our best
Tool.
not tool. Sales pitch.
Showcase.
Showcase, yes.
Showcase.
Okay. Credential.
USP.
Credential, yes. Yes, unique selling proposition. Our happiness is our unique selling proposition for getting others in Krishna consciousness. Like that. So, as a human form of life, this is the last chance we have for self-realization. If we lose this opportunity, then we have to go through so many species. Now, this is something which most of us know. But talking about responsibility, as devotees, we have several responsibilities other than simply our own deliverance. If you see, as devotees, what are the different responsibilities that we have? You tell me. Let's discuss. What are the responsibilities that we have? To be a good example, that is the highest thing. Very, very. Who said that? You said. Yeah. That is the instruction I got when I went for second initiation. I said, Maharaj, how can I serve you? In retrospect, I should not have asked that question. I was over smart. I went and asked. He said, be a good example. And it's becoming very difficult for me. How can I set a good example? Right? Which means it constantly puts pressure on you to behave yourself. Right? My monster can't come out. Right? Then I am not setting a good example. Right? So it's a very heavy instruction, setting a good example. Yes, so that is definitely there. But what are some of the responsibilities that we have? Yes, to set a good example is a big responsibility. Break it down.
Preaching.
Preaching.
I was going to say that.
Exactly. Look after our
Deliver
families. That's our first, there are so many things. Like, once Nityanand Prabhu was telling, first looking after our health. Because if health is gone, then everything is gone, he said. Okay. So I don't know whether, hands up if you are looking or taking care of your health. One person is. My hand is down always. Nowadays only I have started going regularly. For 2 days I am trying to go to that, Keizer training. Now I am becoming a bit serious about that. But taking care of health is very important. If you see, 3 spiritual masters are down right now. Right? At least 3 I know. There may be many. So taking care of health is very, very important. Even if actually some of our spiritual masters, they really take care of their health. Which means they are very particular about what food they eat. But of course, because of our sins, they have to take our karma. That is a different issue. But in general, if you see, even Devamrit Maharaj, if you take Devamrit Maharaj is very particular. He is giving a very good example of how to take care of health. Like that. Bhanu Swami. So they are all leading, giving us the direction. So we have to take care of our health. Then we have to protect our jobs, right? So that's a big responsibility. So we have to. We can't say I am devotee, तो मैं काम नहीं करूँगा. Because the purpose is self-realization. फिर salary क्यों लेता है? बैठो ना फिर. कॉपिन पेन के पेड़ के नीचे बैठो. So when we go to office, then we are taking salary. So we have to deliver. So that is a responsibility. And if we, in the name of devotees, if we do not perform on our job, then what is the example we are setting as devotees? Somebody will say, क्या है? सब ये devotees लोग ऐसे ही होता है क्या? So we don't want to give that kind of an impression, right? When I'm saying perform, it doesn't mean that we have to, every time we have to work till 12 o'clock to win the excellence award in office and get merit stock options. No, I'm not talking about that. There is a difference between endeavor and over endeavor. We do our best. Whatever Krishna's abilities, whatever he has given us, we do our best within whatever is possible, such that it doesn't impact our devotional life. So that's a very fine balance. There is no right answer to that, but it's a balance we have to strike. So anything that impedes on our spiritual life is called as over endeavor, right? So without over endeavoring, if we are doing well, so that's a responsibility. So we have a job responsibility, we have a family, we have a health responsibility, we have a job responsibility, then we have family responsibility. Because if health is gone, we can't do anything. If job is gone, we can't take care of family, right? Then we have familial responsibilities. As a family, what are the responsibilities we have? As Rajava Prabhu was saying, we have to set a good example, right? Others have to get inspired. I want to be like you, like that. So that is a big responsibility we have as a family, to be very stable in our family lives, right? So that's a big responsibility. We have that responsibility, okay? Then we have responsibility to take care of children. We have responsibility to take care of wife. We have a responsibility to take care of husband, right? The wives have responsibility to take care of husband. So these are all responsibilities. Our full life is full of responsibility. Then we have the responsibility in spiritual life. What are the responsibility? What's our foremost responsibility in spiritual life? To follow 4 regulative principles and to chant minimum 16 rounds. Then we have a responsibility
Following the instructions of spiritual master.
Yeah, to go out and preach. So many responsibilities. So if we actually see this responsibility, we will not have time for anything. Right? Most of the time our time will go in balancing all these things. We may not be doing it perfectly. That's okay. I mean, we all are struggling in life. All of us have different problems in our life. But these are our responsibilities. Undoubtedly everyone will agree that these are the set of responsibilities we have. So, therefore, our lives, as a devotee, our life is a life of responsibility. So Srila Prabhupada is highlighting here that if we are not living responsible lives, then we are as good as asuras. Then we are not obeying the instructions. However, it's a fact that we may fight to perfectly execute our responsibilities. It is a fight, no doubt about it. It's not easy. Executing our responsibilities is not an easy task. There is a fight. Okay. But we have to fight that battle always. The sincerity with which we fight that battle will beget us Lord Nityananda's mercy. Sincerely we have to fight. Not that we are trying to trick. We have to fight it sincerely. And then when we fight that battle sincerely, then we will get mercy and empowerment to win in that battle. But we have to fight that battle sincerely without ulterior motives. That's very important. So that's a big responsibility we have. So all this will lead up. When we are doing all this perfectly, then what will happen? Automatically we will become a example. Because people will see all that. Again, our example is not only that I am managing my job properly, I am managing my health properly. Look, I have muscles, Pailwan. Job mein I am earning some 300,000, 300,000 per annum. I am doing this project, that project. I am doing fantastic preaching. At the end of the day, one of the responsibilities we have is that we have to have loving hearts. Without love, then all these are only ornaments on a dead body. So, one of our biggest responsibilities is what? To become loving persons. That's a big responsibility. सबसे difficult हो है. You can learn the latest technology and make money. But can we learn how to love? We have to love everyone. जिसको देख के ऐसा लगता है मंदिर में आने का ही नहीं, उससे भी प्रेम करने का. How difficult is that? अरे यार इसका चेहरा देखा. Again one devotee was talking to me this morning. He was saying that, Prabhuji, sometimes after the class, today morning, after the Nityananda Rayatushi class, one devotee came and said that, how do I come out of this? Because I just can't see this devotee. in the temple. So, I don't know what I said in the class, but something like, huh? Give without discrimination or something like that. We should not discriminate. So he was saying that, but I can't see this devotee at all. So देख के मुझे कुछ होता है. So how can I, be loving? So is it possible, Prabhu, that Lord Nityananda will make an exception? Be very honest about this question. You can make an exception, saying that I understand, इसका और तेरा जनता नहीं है, but that is not an entry criteria into the spiritual world. You can still have 36 relationship with this devotee and go back. So he was asking, are there any exception routes? Are there any exception routes? There are no exception routes. Why? Where is the problem? Within our mind. That's all. That is why there are no exception routes. So if we have relationship problems, yes, there will be problems outside, no doubt about it. But still, if our mind is stable, then we will become immune to anything which is happening outside. So we have a big responsibility to keep our mind under control. Big responsibility we have. So many responsibilities. So it's a continuous process of doing introspection on ourselves. Okay, where am I now? Now what's my problem? And the best person to know us is we. Right? Of course, we have to validate, especially, but we have to validate when, the mind is telling that you are the best on earth. At that time, we have to validate. Right? Otherwise, mind will give certain. Again, until all these incidents somehow happened today. One devotee again came and told me that, Prabhu ji, देखो भाई, मैं तो एकदम straightforward आदमी हूँ, एकदम simple आदमी हूँ, बोल देता हूँ सीधा. ऐसा वो थोड़ी simple है. That is called a move fat. Move fat is not simple. Right? Straightforward doesn't mean curt. I asked him a simple question. I said, कोई आदमी दारू पी के आ रहा है into the temple. Will you go and say, excuse me, you're drunkard, can you please come in the queue? Prabhu, I'm very straightforward. Huh? You're drunkard, I told you drunkard. Is this straightforward? This is not straightforward. So I said there is a difference between, straightforward doesn't mean we have a right to insult anyone or talk anything to anyone. Like that. That is not straightforwardness. And on top of that, the devotee was confused between what is straightforwardness, simplicity. Actually, straightforwardness and simplicity are one and the same thing. Simple means what? Whatever I am, I am. But it is not that I am a very sinful person and I am very simple. I am a aise hi karunga. I will always come drunk only. That is not simplicity. So there are a lot of things we need to understand. And we need to introspect, what am I? Am I really... Simple means sincere. Simple means sincere. I know what is my anartha. And I am begging to the Lord, saying that, Lord, look, I may put on a pretense, and I may walk with a dhoti and kurta, as a very respected devotee in the congregation. But Lord, you know me. You know what is there, the dirt inside my heart. And therefore, I need your mercy. So at least inside, we should have those prayers to the Lord, knowing very well where we are. Because at the end of the day, we all have to become very responsible. Unless we become responsible devotees, then we will not be able to serve the mission effectively. We may pass on in a congregation as a very advanced devotee. That is a different issue. But the real fact of the matter is that we will not go back to Godhead in this lifetime. And we don't want to come back into this world. Of course, Krishna Presthaya Bhutale is different. Right? But obviously we are not on the stage. We don't want to come back because of our karmic bank balances into a world which is rotting day by day. Right? At least today we are able to practice, as I was saying earlier, today at least we are able to chant peacefully. We are in a country, in one sense, whatever may be the plus and minuses, we are in a country, at least somebody is not telling you, chant kar raha hai, Hare Krishna, goli maar dunga abhi. Nikal, beat back, haath mein rakh. Tomorrow we don't know, that world may also come. They will tell you, if you wear Vaishnava Tilak, shoot the fellow. It can come like that. The world is going like that almost, right? So it's better we go back to Godhead very soon. There is nothing in this material world to come back again. Because things are going to get only tatascha anudinam dharmam satyam shaucham shamadaya kalena balina rajan namshati ayu balam smriti. Everything is deteriorating in Kali Yuga. Okay? Nothing is going to improve. No Superman is going to come and change things, right? So we don't want to come back. So it behooves all of us as devotees to introspect and to become more and more responsible. Becoming a responsible devotee. At least, I don't know. I didn't read this paragraph, but I don't know whether I shared with someone also. But last 2 weeks, I have also been praying to the Lord only. Oh Lord, please make me a responsible devotee. I don't know why I am praying like that. But somehow maybe the thinking process came like that. That I believe that I have been behaving irresponsibly. Or maybe not as responsibly as I should be. Right? So we have to behave responsibly always. Of course, Prabhupada is talking about it at a very 30,000 feet level here because it's Isopanisad. We are not drilling into details. So it's a 30,000 feet level, only two types of people, Asuras and Suras. So we cannot be very happy that we are Suras because sometimes the Asura inside us also come out. So our being Sura and Asura is nothing but a function of time of the day. Right? It's also circumstantial many times, right? The Asura inside us comes out. So being an example is not very easy. Being an example means being consistent in every situation in our response to a stimuli from outside, which Stephen Covey writes, no? The 7 habits of highly effective managers, people. The first habit is what? Proactive. Proactive, he says, is what? Ability to respond to a stimuli. Not letting the situation overwhelm you, but you are always in control of the situation. That's called as proactive. So responsibility means proactively dealing with every situation, not letting the situation overwhelming us and we losing all our manners and completely messing up our situation like that. Okay.
One more question. So Prabhupada clearly mentions here, is it the Supreme Personality, is it the person, many people are traveling toward, going toward God realization, but which aspect of God? Is he saying
which line are you reading?
The last line of the first paragraph,
yeah,
where he says that lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. So does he mean that you need to be aiming for the
Sorry, I can't.
last line of the first paragraph?
That is, their ways are as illuminated as the path of the sun.
Okay, just before
Last
that.
line of the second paragraph, did you say?
Second last line of first paragraph.
Second last line of first paragraph. Okay, now I can find it. Throughout the universe, there are only these 2 types of human beings. In the Rig Veda, it is stated that the Suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Yes. Yeah.
So does it mean that it is so there's different stages of self-realization. So does it mean that it is understanding that the personal feature and then aiming for that and acting according to those rules and regulations?
Yes.
So anything less than that still
you cannot call you cannot call Brahmavadis as Asuras. They are not Asuras. But Mayavadis are.
Okay.
Brahmavadis you can't call Asuras. Okay. So they are transcendentalists. Only thing is that their attraction is more for the impersonal form of the Lord. So you can't call them Asuras for that. It's an offense.
Because it also says act accordingly, but elsewhere Prabhupada also recognizes other religions as well. For example, the Pope or Prophet Muhammad.
Definitely.
So, but act accordingly, they may end up having cow for breakfast, So, does that fall under act accordingly? How much do we respect? Because
okay, we have to understand one thing, that somebody may be a dog eater, but he may be a genuine practitioner in his religion. And somebody may not be a dog eater, but he may be a pretender in whatever he is following. Right? So you can't condemn someone just because someone is, or meat eater, let me put it that way. We can't condemn such a person. At the end of the day, again, this was a class that I was hearing this afternoon, on the occasion of Nityanand Trayodashi. Radhanath Maharaj was telling, and there was also one lecture which I heard 2-3 days back where Govind Prabhu was talking. So there are two things which are required to go back to Godhead. 2 things are required to go back to Godhead. At the highest level, 2 things are required. All others are immaterial. 2 things. One is that we feel that we are the lowest. Genuinely we feel that we are lower than everyone else. Trinadapi sunichena karariyo saishnu. Genuinely we feel. Not that we are externally telling so that others will think that how humble this fellow is. Not that. Genuinely we feel we are lower than the lowest. Because when we genuinely feel we are lower than the lowest, then we will feel hopeless. We have to feel hopeless in Krishna consciousness. Not hopeless in the sense that not having faith in the process. I am not talking about that. We should have complete faith that the process of Krishna consciousness will deliver us. But we have to feel unqualified. In that sense, we feel hopeless. That for a sinful person like me, where is the hope? Like that. And then with that hopelessness, then we plead for mercy of the Lord. then that mercy will flow from Lord Nityananda. Right? So he was saying that therefore Lord Nityananda will pardon everyone. Those who are sinners and all, it's very easy. Arsonist, rapist, murder, everything pardoned. But the only person who will not get Lord Nityananda's mercy also is who? A person who is proud. Okay? Because when you have pride, when we have pride, that means what? That means I'm thinking I don't need something. Mera paas to sab kuch hai, I know. When I have pride, then pride and seeking mercy don't go hand in hand. Only a person who is helpless. Okay? Maybe I use the wrong word. Hopelessness, helplessness. Only when we feel helpless will we go and beg for mercy. If with pride we can't even ask for mercy. With pride we can't even ask for mercy. Janma Aishwarya Shuta Shribhir E Damana Madappuman Na Evar Hati Abhidatum Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. Kunti Maharani tells in Srimad Bhagavatam that who are the people who will not surrender to God easily? Who are the people? What makes people not surrender to God? High parentage, lot of wealth, prestige is there. Abhi kya jarurat hai? Right? So if you have all of this, then you can't feel helpless in that situation. What will only come in that situation is pride, that I am in control of my life. Right? So whereas helplessness, the feeling of helplessness is one quality which we need to go back to Godhead. Right? And the second one is intense greed to attain the Lord. Intense greed to attain the Lord. Feeling of helplessness and intense greed. Right? To attain the Lord. These two combinations, whoever is having, whichever religion that person is, he will go back to Godhead. Because eventually he will come to doing whatever the right things are. Like that.
But did we see that in Jalai Madai?
Did we?
Did we see that? Just trying to understand, because with these two things, if we are proud, we cannot even get Nityananda's mercy, right? But Lord Nityananda was merciful to Jalai Madai, so can we infer that they were not helpless, but weren't they proud?
Jagai Madai? No. They were very sinful. But when Lord released the Sudarshan Chakra, immediately they surrendered. And then seeing Lord Nityananda pleading, Madai also changed his heart. But pride is something. Even when I was in Jagannath Puri, the Panda, Ramkumar Panda told me, he said, Lord Jagannath, kuch bhi sins nahi dekhte. Everyone is, he loves everyone. The only person who doesn't like is the person who comes to him with pride. Either the pride that I have donated 10 lakh rupees to this temple, and then you go like a Maharaja in front of Lord Jagannath. Mera waye se tera kaam chala hai. Almost that kind of feeling. When we give a big donation, how do we feel? Like that. Whereas you are here talking to none other than Lord Jagannath, whose wife is the goddess of fortune. And a negligible amount of that fortune we have earned in this life, which is insignificant, right? And we think we made a donation to the Lord, right? So this is pride. So the pride is something which the Lord does not accept. But Papa Pashanda, Kali Yoga Avatar, Chaitanya Nitai, Papa Pashanda Nahi Mani. So they will accept all kinds of sinners. It doesn't mean we have a license to sin. Like they say, Jesus is the savior. So he's a contractor who is opened an agency for taking everyone's sins. So we can continue sinning and then Jesus will take away everything, all the sins. It's not like that. God is not a contractor for that. But it is giving us a guideline that if we are sinful, inadvertently if we commit some sins, then we will be pardoned. But offenses will not be pardoned. Vaishnava offenses will not be pardoned. For that only the specific Vaishnava has to. Okay. Mataji wants to read further. Sorry, I missed one point. So if we miss this valuable human form of the life and we only engage in eating, sleeping, mating and defending, then what is happening? We have been given something. Like for example, let's say in office you are given a promotion and you are now the vice president. So you have given a nice cabin. And then you say, अभी तो अच्छा cabin दिया है, अंदर खराटे मार के सोएंगे अभी. You know, I can sleep nicely. Switch on the AC. People will think boss is busy. Don't disturb. Like that. You can nicely sleep inside. No? What will happen? Company has given you that facility for what? So that you can execute higher responsibilities on behalf of the company. Not to misuse it, to not do something. Right? So Prabhupada is saying that this human body has also been given to us for self-realization. So if we miss these activities, or even after going inside the cabin, the vice president is always thinking, okay, let me next code kabhi review karna hai. Suppose you think like that. I'm talking in IT language now. Code review who does? Vice president of a company does? No. Right? So if he's always in that mood, when will I do next code review? No? Then what happens? Then you are not able to execute higher responsibilities. So similarly, if the human form of life, we are also doing that activity which the other species is also doing, then we don't deserve that human form of life. Then we are better off like that. So that is what Prabhupada is saying. If you lose this opportunity, the soul loses its greatest opportunity for delivering itself. Therefore, as a metaphor, Prabhupada is saying the killer of the soul. But otherwise the soul cannot be killed. Strictly as per the Bhagavad Gita, the soul cannot be killed. The soul is eternal, right? And we cannot kill the soul. Why we cannot kill the soul? Because we are the soul. Right? When we say we cannot kill the soul, that means we are somebody and our soul is something else. It's what do you call that? It doesn't make sense. Like if someone said, no, Prabhu, can we see our soul? You can't see your soul because you are the seer. The soul is the seer. So how can the soul see itself? Because the soul is you. You are the seer. So like that, the soul cannot be killed. Soul is eternal by nature. But Atmaha is metaphorically used here to say that you are losing that opportunity. You have been given a nice cabin and you have lost it now. You are the killer of the cabin. It's almost something like that. You have destroyed the facility which was given to you. So in that sense, the killer of the soul word is used. Okay. So Mataji, who wants to read? Raji Mataji, loudly.
There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is a man given a better life than that of swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of an ordinary clerk? The answer is that a highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties of human beings
the duties human beings have to perform are
higher than those of animals who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problems of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of the need for self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment.
Yeah,
we are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard like the asses and bullocks that pull carts. Some of the regions where the asuras are sent to work are revealed in the verse of Sri Isopanisad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asurya planets and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God is given a chance to appear in a family of a Sutri or Srimat. The word Sutri indicates a spiritually advanced Brahman and Srimat indicates a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile community. So the person who fails to achieve self-realization is given a better chance in his next life due to his sincere efforts in this life. Even if a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest regions of hell as confirmed throughout the Vedic literature. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. The Bhagavad Gita rebukes such men by calling them Atma Sambhavita, meaning that they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of the Ishavasya, the Lord's universal proprietorship, are certain to enter into the darkest regions. The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant to, not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of the material life into which we are being placed by the laws of nature.
So what are the points?
Human beings are engrossed in achieving their ultimate aim of material prosperity, then it will just take them to the darkest region. So they don't achieve anything but spiral downwards towards the darkest region.
There's no loss or diminution in the path of bhakti.
Srila Prabhupada mentions one is always threatened by unemployment. It's interesting that, that this problem is existing. I mean, generally when we compare our generation and the generation of people up before us, we think that they might have been more comfortable.
Yeah.
But here he's actually saying that, he's sort of saying this is the destiny of humanity, to be always threatened by unemployment.
Exactly. Today that's the maximum, that's the biggest worry for all of us. Whether you are top performer, bottom performer, everyone is worried about
Next day.
next day. You don't know. Even if you perform very well in the company, there is no guarantee they will keep you.
So just to add to that, elsewhere I heard one Srila Prabhupada was saying that, actually people who work intelligently, they work only for 3 or 6 months of the year, and the remaining 6 months of the year, you actually don't do any work and you just engage in Krishna Katha. So the way you plan your agriculture produce is that you have enough for the rest of the year and then you just start working. Of course, that's in terms of farming.
But even we do that in office also.
Then you're very intelligent.
We work 3 months before the appraisal time.
You're already involved in.
But you're talking to us or Prabhuji?
He said he is doing that. So I said he is doing. I don't know about you.
No, don't you work? No, before the half yearly appraisal cycle, 2 महीना पहला काम करो. फिर next half yearly cycle again everyone is working, no? Everyone is sitting late in office and all. Okay. Anyway, what's the point?
No, Srila was saying, I think in terms of farming, because if you have your own farm and a cow, and so you can have enough food for the whole year. So now we are going to work 365 days. So we don't need to do that throughout the year actually. We can free up a lot of time if we had the proper Vedic way of living, having a farm and all. So I think you had also said somewhere that these people who are working in factories, ISKCON, your stage, they will come and say, okay, employ us on your farm.
In the factories, they used to tell Prabhupada.
He said the way economic development is going, Srila Prabhupada said, is that there will be unemployment more and more, and then people will want to come back to farming. And so we should have these farming communities in ISKCON where people who are eligible and can do it will be given shelter.
Yeah, true. That is the whole idea behind the Vada farm today. That Vada farm is a very self-sustaining community. So even if everything goes wrong in the world, then there is one place where one can go and expect to get food, right? And spiritual guidance also. That is the whole idea behind it.
Krishna Valley here in Melbourne also is looking for people to come and join.
Where? Yeah, Keshav Prabhu has been telling us since last 10 years. Hands up if you want to come and join the farm. But it's not so easy. It's not so easy.
You need a lot of strength.
Yeah.
First of all, there has to be some will. No? Like
Bhupen Prabhu said we can't even bend.
Huh?
When Bhupen Prabhu was there, he said you should not think because you can't even bend
Bend.
properly. Become calm.
We can't do that. It's very difficult, but it's more of the mind rather than the body. You know? So suppose someone, how about some relative asks, what is your, is farming in Australia? I thought he was a master's of business administration. They may say like that.
But Prabhu custom.
Is he doing farming in Australia? So most of the problem, most of the decisions we take in life are based on prestige. Which Bhaktivedanta Saraswati said that it is like the stool of a hog. Prestige is like the stool of a hog. A hog is already, what it eats. And then when it passes stool, how it is. So the prestige of this material world is the stool of a hog. But all of us are caught up in our prestige. That is the biggest problem. We can't live simply. I'm going back to the conversation with the devotee that we were having on Thursday afternoon. That why can't we retire and go back? We can't. Even if we retire and go back, financially, yes, maybe we can still survive for the rest of our life. But we won't know what to do with our time because we haven't practiced utilizing 24 hours of our time in Krishna consciousness. We need so many other things to keep us happy outside of Krishna consciousness. We need some social status. Maybe we may not need it to that extent as what the karmis will need. But here also, we need. Little bit to thoda branded, abhi ek bar branded shirt pehna to kya usme problem hai? Something will be there, at least decent, goggle should be there. Like that, So something we are looking for. Abhi car, there are devotees also. For example, Karunanidhi Prabhu led the example in how to buy a car. Right? That he told me once, Karunanidhi Prabhu told me that car for me is something which can take you from one point to another. Hands up if you believe in that philosophy. What does car mean to? Yes, there is one man who is believing that. I am not at that platform, frankly. Okay, I am not on that platform. That's why I didn't buy a 1985 Toyota, what is that? Corolla. I still want car, at least thoda decent model to lene hai. 4 log dekhenga to thoda I am not saying like that. Is it? So still we have that feeling. Abhi lenge to thoda acha wala dekhenga. Like that. Right? So we still have that. We still have those attachments. Sometimes, somewhere we are going beyond the utility of an item to derive more things out of that item, which is not required out of that item. So that is our problem. Even in terms of our time, can we, let's say if we have all the money in the world, tomorrow we have retired, let's say, will we come for Mangalarti every day? Possibly not. Will we hear one lecture every day? Will we do services all the time in the temple? Possibly not. Maybe not also. So it's a question for us. If we are, then we can retire. If we are not, then we are in a danger. It should not happen that we have prematurely retired and wondering that Arya sab log paisa bana raha hai. We can't. Then there is a problem then. That means our consciousness is not ready for vanaprastha right now. Whereas even as a grihastha, even if you are working outside and doing so many activities, as long as we are not attached to it, we know very clearly what is the goal of life and always focusing on doing the basics of Krishna consciousness properly, it's as good as being detached. Just doing our duties and then following our Krishna consciousness, the basics of Krishna consciousness properly. That is good enough. Then we will eventually go, we can live a retired life. Living simply, even if what Govind Prabhu talked about, induced poverty. Living with induced poverty. Even if I can afford, I will not buy. I can afford a shirt of $100, but no, I think $20 shirt is good enough for me. So then I will buy that. If we can continuously live like that with the bare minimum essentials, and sometimes we will know that जब घर साफ सफाई होती है और movement होता है, when we travel from one house to another, we will realize how much we have accumulated that we don't even need. That's a very good time to see how renounced we are from material items. And when someone tells ये दे दो ना, नहीं अभी मत देना, रहने दो. कितना पैसा देके खरीदा था याद है? But अभी जरूरत नहीं कितना पैसा देके खरीदा. So then we get attached because we remember the labor which went into affording that item. Okay. So therefore we get attached. So with all these attachments, mental attachment, we are not ready to retire. Retirement means what? Detachment. Detachment and very simple living. Living only with the bare minimum essentials. And being happy in Krishna consciousness. Let me put it this way. Being happy only in Krishna consciousness. Then we can retire. If Krishna conscious activities are enough to keep us happy, and we don't need anything outside of that to also keep us happy, so that we are also happy in Krishna consciousness. Right? But Prabhu, devotees लोग अच्छे से behave नहीं कर रहे हैं, motivation ही नहीं लग रहा है chanting का. Which means what? That means my bhakti is dependent on how I am respected by everyone else. If people don't respect me, then I am finding it challenging to do bhakti. That Prabhuji is not looking at me and saying Hari Bol. It's disturbing me, chanting ke time. Like that. And these are all real life issues. We also face through it. Na? When we have a problem with some devotee, are we able to chant? Some devotee is not even saying Hari Bol, not even looking. हम लोग सामने से आए तो उधर देख के जाते हैं. Avoid. Or seeing through us and going, ठीक है. Why the devotee is behaving like that? And when you are chanting also, then what happens? Krishna, what did I do? First we ask that. After that anger comes. How dare he ignore me? And then we are chanting. So there are so many other things that are required by our mind. That activity of chanting, simply the activity of vegetable cutting, simply the activities of doing aarti or other processes are not enough to keep us happy. At least we need recognition, a pat on our back. Prabhuji, first class preaching diya. Or after class, we like people coming and telling us, अच्छा class दिया, बहुत अच्छा class था. Like nobody is asking means then what happens? दर्द होता है कहीं ना कहीं. यार इतना prepare करके आया, एक word भी नहीं बोला किसी ने. Like that. So there are a lot of expectations. अभी से class ही नहीं दूँगा. Or someone criticizes, मर गया. Prabhu, I think you are not. I don't think really. This today's class was good. There are a lot of things which you told which didn't make any sense, Prabhu. Like that. अभी से class ही नहीं दूँगा. Like that. We can go other extreme also. What is this? Devotees. This is what devotees are talking. I don't want to do this service. Every time devotees are criticizing whatever I do. So always we have to, someone has to sing our Purusha Shutta all the time. You are the best. You are the most glorious. Then, in Tamil we say, Anju Manasu, Pulunde, what is it? We say, if सब कुछ favorable है तो मैं Krishna consciousness करूँगा. कुछ भी इधर उधर गया तो then नहीं मजा नहीं आ रहा Krishna consciousness में. Like that. So that means we are again not ready for retirement. We have to, as I said last week also, we have to be able to live like a nobody. We have to be able to be last in the queue and somebody telling us, Prabhu, prasadam khatam ho gaya. Or, and we should still be very happy because our goal is what? Going back to Godhead. Whether someone knows your name or doesn't know your name or who you are, from which country, what big preacher you are, who cares? Right? So to become a nobody and just the Krishna conscious process itself giving us full bliss and happiness, then we are ready. But we need so many things. That is our problem. So we are very complicated right now. Why did we get into this discussion? Some question was there, isn't it? Okay. So, but anyway, it's relevant for all of us. So we are given this, So we are given this agriculture point. That is where we came to that. But then again, it is connected to what Prabhupada is speaking, because Prabhupada is saying we are given this human form of life not to work like camels and asses. Rishabdev also tells in Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that verse? Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan kaman arhate vid bhujamye tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhed yasmat brahma saukhyam tvananta. Okay, so Rishabdev says that this human form of life is not meant to work like dogs and camels, whereas this opportunity should be realized for tapasya. This human life is a tapasya for attaining what? Brahma Saukhyam, for attaining transcendental happiness or transcendental bliss which comes with pure love of Godhead. That is the goal of human life. Any other activity which we do is Shrama Evahi Kevalam, useless waste of time. Whatever other activities we are doing, if it is not increasing our eagerness to attain the Lord, then such activities are just like the activities of four-legged animals or whatever, any animal for that matter. So Prabhupada is reiterating that point. So conclusion, Prabhupada is saying that human beings, we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a tottering platform. Why Prabhupada is saying tottering platform? Like Devamrit Maharaj says, what is the most tottering thing in this world? What is the tottering platform? Apply your Bhagavad Gita. What totters with time? Our body. Right? We are already on a tottering platform in that sense. So Devamrit Maharaj, I think one of the lectures which he gave was, he said that the human body is a machine which is designed to fail. Right? It's a machine which is designed to fail. Like if you touch 40, you will realize, slowly, gone. Doctor visits will increase, back problem, neck problem, sugar problem. What is that? Do chasma, what is that called as?
Bifocal.
Bifocal problem. You know, I struggle in office sometimes. Like this. To see properly. And I get fed up, frustrated with this. Why did this problem come in my head? Like that. So many problems. 40, 50. So many problems will come. So already we are on a tottering platform. So on this tottering platform, we ourselves are, this body itself is what? Temporary. And then we are talking about economic development all the time. It's not that economic development should not be there, but that is definitely not the goal of life. Right? The Panchama Purushartha. There are 4 things that Vedas gave. Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. And then there is Panchama Purushartha, which is Bhakti. Right? So our focus should be on Bhakti, not simply Dharma, Artha and Kama. Liberation, but liberation of what type? Liberation, such that it will lead us to the service of the Supreme Personality of God. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying, don't on a tottering platform. And this material world is anyway designed by the Lord to rot. We cannot change the design of the Lord. If something is designed to deteriorate and fail, you and I can't keep fighting against it and say that I will bring out a new revolution in this world now. It is not possible. It may be possible. It may have some temporarily, one may be able to do it. But the course of Kali Yuga is what? To always go down. Right? And then there will be annihilation, and again there will be the next, after the next pralaya, then again Satya Yuga will commence. So we can't change the direction. We can't change the way that the Lord has designed this material world. So that is why Prabhupada is saying that we are also on a tottering platform, so we can't solve all the problems of life. Rather we understand what is the goal, why are we put here in the jail. So as a prisoner inside the jail, no doubt we can do certain things. Okay, we can say that jail mein saaf suthra rakhna chahiye and all that. But that is not the goal of life. Our goal of life is to get out of the jail. We can do certain activities to make the jail as comfortable a place to live in till the time that we are there in that jail, right? And do our bit for the other prisoners, help them or whatever. If someone is having, wants help to cross the, I don't know what in jail do they cross or what? Or if some fellow, some criminal cannot walk, for example, you can take some food and give the criminal. But the goal is not that. You can't keep doing those activities because at the end of the day we are inside the jail. So therefore our goal has to come out of this jail and also help others come out of this jail. Okay. Mantra 4. Who wants to read? Prabhu, Harsha Prabhu. Hanuman Prabhu, sorry.
Translation. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence.
Let's go ahead and read the
purport. Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher cannot know the Supreme Lord who is the absolute personality of Godhead. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of wind or the mind for hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. The Brahma Samhita further describes that the absolute personality of Godhead has his transcendental abode, known as Goloka, where he remains and engages in his pastimes, yet by his inconceivable potencies, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from the fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat to some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere. Although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into three principal categories: the internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings of each of these categories. The dominating demigods who are empowered to control and administer such natural phenomena such as light, air, light, and rain are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including humans, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of the Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky where the kingdom of God is situated is the manifestation of his internal potency. Thus, different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and his energies are non-different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth, nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is distributed everywhere impersonally or that he loses his personal existence. Men are accustomed to reach conclusions according to their capacity for understanding, but the Supreme Lord is not subjected to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says that not even the great rishis and suras can know him, and what to speak of the asuras, for whom there is no question of understanding the ways of the Lord. This fourth mantra of Sri Isopanisad very clearly suggests that the absolute Lord is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no need to mention so many details in support of his personal features. Although the individual parts and parcels of the Lord's potencies have all the symptoms of the Lord himself, they have limited spheres of activity and are therefore all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole. Therefore, they cannot appreciate the Lord's full potency. Under the influence of material nature, foolish and ignorant living beings who are but parts and parcels of the Lord try to conjecture about the Lord's transcendental position. Sri Isopanisad warns of the futility of trying to establish the identity of the Lord through mental speculation. One should try to learn of the transcendence from the Lord himself, the supreme source of the Vedas, for the Lord alone has full knowledge of the transcendence. Every part and parcel of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel, living entity, forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya, illusion. Thus, from the very beginning, Sri Isopanishad wants us to be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative on his own. Because he is a part and parcel of the Lord, he must partake to the initiative of the Lord as well. When a person properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding that everything is the Lord's potency, he can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to association with Maya, the external energy. All power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. These matters are described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads.
So what are the points there?
The Lord cannot be understood by mental speculation. Only devotees can understand him.
Knowledge of the Supreme Personality. The section of the knowledge of the Supreme Personality starting from this mantra and the next three verses it will be about the Lord's potencies and His overall. And here it's clearly saying that only Lord can give us that knowledge with which we can understand Him. It's not that by our own will or our speculations or whatever. Defeating the formless features who will understand the other parts are also of the Lord is formless. So he is establishing that the Lord is form as well from quoting Upanishads and other
The analogy of Lord Krishna's potency, the heat and the light from fire is given. So, and that also leads us to understand the three different potencies of the Lord, which are internal, marginal and external potencies. And internal potencies, the examples are also given, spiritual side, marginal potencies, the living beings, and the external potencies, the material world. And ultimately Lord can also be known or can be understood by the devotees only, by one who has adopted a submissive service attitude, and only they can understand the Lord. And that knowledge is required, which is the perfect knowledge, knowing who the Lord is and all His features. And knowing the potencies of the Lord and knowing how these potencies work by only Krishna's will.
Okay. So there are three types of energies. Internal energy, marginal energy and superior energy, marginal energy and inferior energy of the Lord. Okay. So what is the superior energy of the Lord?
Spiritual energy.
That's Brahman. The superior energy of the Lord, right? And then what is the inferior energy of in one sense, everything is Brahman. If you see Brahman also, there is Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. If you read Burjan Prabhu's treatise, Unveiling His Lotus Feet, Burjan Prabhu has dissected it in that way. So, originally there is only what? Pradhan. Pradhan is what? The primeval cosmic substance. So, Prabhupada writes in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the spiritual sky, in one corner of the spiritual sky, there is a dark cloud, which is Pradhan. Pradhan becomes agitated by the glance of Mahavishnu and then becomes Mahat Tattva. Right? That Mahat Tattva forms the, provides all the elements for our gross and subtle body. Right? But then what are we? Who are we? We are not part of the inferior energy. We are actually part of the superior marginal energy. Right? So the soul then is put into the material world, and it is covered all over with this Mahat Tattva, which is earth, water, fire, air, ether, and mind, intelligence and false ego. So the gross body as well as the subtle body. So the soul is not part of the inferior energy. Though it seems, because of the trapping, one may feel that the soul is part of the inferior energy. But otherwise, the soul cannot be touched by the or harmed by the material energy. Because the soul is Brahman. Like that. So the reason the soul is called as marginal energy, again we are going back to the basics. Why the soul is called as marginal energy?
Free will. Because of the free will we choose.
Yeah, because at any point in time, Prabhupada says the soul is on a threshold it can either align with the Lord's desires or it can act against the Lord's desire. If it aligns with the Lord's desire, then it goes back to the spiritual world. If the soul does not align with the Lord's desire, then the Lord allows the soul to act as per that free will, but come to the material world and experience the material world, where we can get forgetfulness of the Lord. Because in the spiritual world, there is nothing called as forgetfulness of the Lord. The very fact, is in Vaikuntha, you are always aware of the Lord. In fact, we were discussing the other day. It's the third canto, right? Where it is mentioned that in the Vaikuntha, when the couples are going in Vaikuntha, it is said that the ladies are very beautiful to look at, and it is very, very nice. Varnan is given of the opulence in Vaikuntha. But at the same time, it is said that none of them are agitated by that. Everyone is only thinking, how do I now serve Krishna? So forgetfulness of God is absent in the spiritual world. But when the soul wants to forget the Lord, then the soul is given an opportunity to do so by entering the material world, where the soul starts thinking that, getting the feeling of aham mameti, that I am the doer and whatever I have achieved belongs to me. Aham mameti principle, like that. So because the soul is susceptible to fall down, therefore it is called as marginal energy, because the free will can be utilized to fall down also, like that. And then there is the pure material energy, which is jad vastu, which doesn't have any chit, which doesn't have any consciousness. For example, this, it doesn't have any consciousness, it doesn't accumulate any karma, it doesn't do any activities, it is just dead matter in one sense. Right? Of course, when we come to the platform of devotional service, then we don't see objects as dead matter. Why? We see all objects in relation to Lord Krishna. This is the second Chatushloki of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you want, you can open that. Second Chatushloki that talks about this. Rite etam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta cha atmani tad vidya atmano mayam yatha bhasho yatha tamaha. This you will find in second canto, 9th chapter, 34th verse. Just see if you have your phone's iPhone. Just read the English translation. I don't remember that English translation very clearly, but it is said that whatever you see separate from Krishna is actually illusion, is material. That is what it essentially says. What does it say?
O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality.
Correct. If it is without relation to me, it has got no reality. So, as devotees, we don't even see all these objects as jad vastu, because we are always seeing it in connection with Krishna. And it is a fact. What is that verse? Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam dhanam param tasmat parataram devim tadiyanam samarchanam. More dear to me than the devotee is, highest worship is that of Lord Vishnu. Higher than the worship of Lord Vishnu is the worship of his devotee. But the word tadiya does not only mean devotee. Tadiya actually means paraphernalia, everything that is associated with the Lord. That's why we don't kick any object. In my childhood, my grandmother always used to tell me, hey, don't move any object by kicking it. No? Because that was Vedic culture. If you want to move a stool also, we take the sofa and move it. You just kick it and push it there. That's, she always used to chastise, when you do that. What are you doing? And of course, she used to say, as a Brahmana, you have been born. Don't use your legs for everything, to kick things. So we have to place it. Because Vedic culture, the consciousness was always that everything was related to, that Bhagavan is present in every single atom, which is true. Because this verse also is talking about the omnipresence of the Lord. Okay? Because we can scientifically understand this principle. How does we discussed last time, right? What gives the force for the electrons moving around the nucleus? No one knows. They may say centrifugal force, centripetal force. But where did that force come from? Nobody is able to say. Right? There is some phenomenon, we have given it an English name. But can we create that phenomenon? No. Right? So what is it that where from this phenomenon is operating? For every single object in this material world. Because the Lord, as Siro Dakshaya Vishnu, is present in each and every vastu. So when we have this knowledge that Lord is present in each and every atom, then we do not misuse things. Then we will not kick, because we will think that, oh, the Lord is present in everything. Or the devotee sees every single item in his house in relation to the service of Lord Vishnu. That is what that verse is. Rite ritam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani. Okay. So then our whole consciousness is very different. Even when we deal with matter, we are very careful, right? Even devotees who do not even take Lakshmi and just throw it like that. We don't throw it, or we don't, even if we are angry, we don't take a clock and smash it or whatever, saying that $2 ka hi hai. Because we see everything in relation to Krishna. This clock, whenever you see this clock, at least whenever I see this clock, what do I remember? Bhakti Shastri class. Because it is only at that time that I use this clock. So when it reminds me of Krishna. What is Bhakti Shastri about? It's about Krishna. So it reminds you always of Krishna. Right? When I see this bottle, I always remember again Bhakti Shastri class. So like that, when we see everything in this world in relation to Krishna, then actually we will find that there is nothing called as the material energy. That is the highest understanding. That nothing is actually material. Something is only material if it is seen outside of its relationship with Krishna. Right? So even if the deity, which is otherwise universally accepted as spiritual, if you see it only as patthar, then it's our vision, the way we see it. Then it is material. Right? So again, go back and read the translation. It's a very powerful, that's why it's a key memory of, it is called as the emperor verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 4 emperor verses.
O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness.
Okay. So something is material only to the extent that we don't see its connection to Krishna. So any points here? Today everyone is tired because of Nityananda Tarayashi. We'll finish. Let's just discuss just this little bit more. 5 more minutes.
I'm waiting for Bhagavad. Anything is material only as long as it's not in correction to
actually true. Yeah.
As long as we can justify a connection.
Yes. Not as long as we can justify the connection. That's exactly Bhagavad Prabhu's philosophy. We must see the connection, not justify the connection. Justifying means we are trying to tell others about that connection. But seeing the connection, that is important. Now you read the same paragraph, that line.
Every part and parcel of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya or illusion.
So so how do we get abilities? By the Lord, because of our karma, we get some abilities. Okay, not everyone becomes a Lionel Messi in football, right? Or Ronaldo, right? We are given certain abilities based on our Daivi Hesha Guna. Not Daivi Hesha Guna. What is that verse? Karmana Daiva Netrana Jantur Deho Kupate. Because of our karma, then we enter the womb somewhere in some country of some mother, right? And all our talents, abilities, they all are coming from Purva Janma karma for all of us. Okay. And that Purva Janma karma is not something, yes, it is acting on autopilot in one sense, but then autopilot also requires engineering. It's not that autopilot means nobody did. The flight is just running on autopilot. Autopilot also requires an engineering, right? So who has done that engineering? The Lord. It's acting according to the Lord's will. So if we say that no, I have got these talents, I am not going to do that, I want to be somebody else, then obviously then we are not utilizing what the Lord has ordained for us. We are not giving due respect to what the Lord has ordained for us. Like that, for example.
At times it's difficult to understand what our abilities are.
Our abilities, whatever we will come to know automatically, we will come to know. It will not be hidden in Krishna consciousness. Okay. For example, it's not difficult to understand that I have a natural ability for shastras, for preaching. How difficult is it to know that? Or I have an aptitude for garland making. Then if you take the garland maker forcefully and say, "नहीं आपको अभी lecture देना ही पड़ेगा," वो बोले यार नहीं हो रहा है वैसे. No, I can't do that service. I am a garland maker. At the same time, if you take a person who is for example, if you tell me go and what is that? Herd the farm, go and do the tree sawing and all in the farm. You think my body, I will be able to do tree sawing? First, my hand will fall off my body if I try to lift that instrument. Somebody has to bandage me, first. So I am not meant for that work. Okay. So everyone will know what his or her aptitudes and strengths are. We will come to know eventually, automatically. Kids are too early right now. Yeah. One thing which I learned, don't give too much philosophy to your children. Even Krishna just philosophy. They become too intelligent otherwise. But anyway, so for kids, we don't have to worry about all that, right, at this point in time. For kids, all that is required at this time is to be loving parents. Just take them out, give them a good life, give them the basic values, bring them to the temple, show them the outside world also, so that they are not ignorant of things. It doesn't come as a shock. Daddy, you never told me all these things, like that. We have to balance it out with them, that's all. Right now, and then obviously one thing is there, and sometimes we learn some good things from movies also. There was this movie called 3 Idiots. It was a nice phenomenon. The son wants to become a photographer in that movie, and the father is hell bent. How can he become a photographer like that? So some things, one good thing I learned was that we generally try to force our children into things which they don't want to do. But actually they will shine if we just simply allow them to do whatever they want to do. If they are naturally inclined towards studies, we will fan that and facilitate that. But if they have nothing to do with it, we should not force them. You have to get 99 VC number. It will just put pressure and unnecessarily nothing is going to come out of that. Because they are naturally inclined to be somewhere else. So rather we identify that and we will come to know that. It is not possible that a parent does not know children's strength. Unless a parent doesn't have time for the child. In which case that is a different issue. I am not worried. Not like that. But usually, we focus on our children, we will come to know. Generally, they will show those traits very early on, which way they are oriented towards. At this stage, what we do is, I don't know, I am not giving a class on child parenting because I am not the best person to talk about that. Okay, and I am still going through the experience myself. There are more senior advanced devotees who can tell. But I have seen one thing, let them experiment as much as possible. Allow them to experiment whatever they want. Obviously, they don't experiment alcohol also, not like that. Allow them to experiment with such that they are following the 4 regulatory principles. Within that, no problem. You can experiment. You can experiment soccer, you can experiment lawn tennis. So here, we are in a different age, we are in a different education system, we are in a different atmosphere. There is so much flexibility for someone to grow. Even in India, of course, it must be different than the time that we studied. At that time, we only had arts, commerce, that's all. But here they are. So for children, it's best that they experience so many things in their life, and then they will automatically, they themselves will come to know where they are strong. They are actually very intelligent. They will come to know. And we will also come to know that where their strength lies. Coming back to that point, so similarly here, another way of discussing this is Varna and Ashrama. So if we are in a particular Varna, because of our inherent aptitude, Varna comes how? Chatur Varna Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Varna is because of our aptitudes. It's not because of our birth. The son of a Brahmana is not a Brahmana, as much as the son of a doctor may not be a doctor, right? So therefore, based on our aptitudes and inclination, then we dovetail that in our Krishna consciousness. Then we will get fulfillment and we will have happiness in our Krishna consciousness. If suppose someone tells me, Jagannathanam, from tomorrow no preaching, come and do, I don't know, the fruit cutting still I can do, but come and make khichdi in the temple. Someone tells me, no, this is your eternal service from now on. I might do it, for my own purification. I don't know, but maybe the Lord will, empower me also. I don't know, because I do it in a spirit of service. But generally, by default, I will not be very pleased, because my strength doesn't lie in the kitchen. My natural aptitude will again come back to, when can I study Srimad Bhagavatam, or what points can I note, what are the interesting philosophical points that are coming out. So then you will be out of your own comfort area. So better off than Prabhupada said, even out of the Navavida Bhakti, one process we perfect, we will go back to got it. Just one process we have to perfect, that's all. Either Shravanam, we have to be perfect hearers like Parikshit Maharaj, or Kirtanam, perfect speakers like Sukadeva Goswami, right? Or Atma Nivedanam like Bali Maharaj, right? So one aspect of Krishna consciousness we can decide, whichever aspect, and put all our energies that this is my service and I will try. And also be very accommodative based on the need. For example, if there is nobody, for example, to clean the kitchen, you cannot say, no, actually I am a preacher, it's not my job. We don't talk scope and project management in the realm of Bhakti. There are no, it's not my role and responsibility. We don't talk all that. Those are all management language. After office hours, please shut it, lock it. Correct? So here it is perfectly allowed. So we can take something other than that. But then we have our basic sadhana should be something which is based on a natural attitude. Otherwise we will not be happy. It's very important to be happy in Bhakti at the end of the day. Because Bhakti is a process which has to be joyfully performed. What is that? Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Susukham Kartum Bhavyayam. Bhakti has to be joyfully done. So maza kab aayega? When we do something which we enjoy. And then if something is enjoyable in Bhakti and you are enjoying it, do more of it. Nothing is wrong in that. If you like Kirtan, keep on singing Kirtan. No problem. Okay. But for the Lord. Then there is no problem. Right? So you are dovetailing our natures. Okay. Moses Prabhu, thank you for reminding me. I almost forgot it. आपको कुछ क्वेश्चन था क्या?
No, there is a comment there. Gita says that Shreyan Swadharmo Viguna Paradharma Swanushchita. Shreyan Swadharmo Viguna Paradharma Swanushchita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we have to work as per your own nature. That is better rather than performing somebody else's nature.
Yeah. Hanuman Prabhu, is that okay? Srila Prabhupada ki